I think we can all agree, ICE. Now, only 17 days after Renee Good was shot and killed by an ICE agent, another American citizen was shot and killed by Customs and Border Protection agents. And again, Trump administration officials immediately blamed the victim. Head of the Border Patrol, Greg Bovino, had a unique take on this tragedy.
With respect, it feels as though in some ways you're blaming the victim here.
The victims are the Border Patrol agents. I'm not blaming the Border Patrol agents. The victim are the Border Patrol agents.
Tensions are rising in Minnesota after ICE agents detained a 5-year-old boy in Minneapolis on Tuesday. We're told he's being held with his father, but this image of Liam Ramos and his Spider-Man backpack surrounded by ICE agents in front of his home has people asking a lot of questions. The family's lawyer and school say the boy was used by ICE as, quote, bait.
And U.S. Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino defended ICE agents who detained this 5-year-old boy, Liam Ramos, and his father, an asylum seeker. They're being held together at a federal detention center in South Texas.
The child is in the least restrictive setting with a family member. I don't think it gets any better than that.
And we begin on a Monday with new information in the assassination plot of President Trump based in Jackson County, West Virginia. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Amanda Barron.
And I'm Marilyn McAuliffe. 13 News reporter Sarah Davis joins us now from outside the Jackson County Courthouse. Sarah, this all started on TikTok. What can you tell us?
A Ripley librarian was arrested over the weekend on terroristic threat charges after she allegedly led a social media scheme to make plans and then recruit others to assassinate United States President Donald Trump. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office says 39-year-old Morgan Morrow was arrested Sunday after an investigation found statements made on the internet linked to her, suggesting a plot to assassinate Trump. That TikTok post included the phrase, quote, "Surely a sniper with a terminal illness can't be a big ask out of 343 million. Sheriff Ross Mellinger says threatening comments of that nature were found on multiple online platforms. He says social media only amplifies this type of intolerable violence.
When you saddle up on the horse of stupidity, you have to be prepared for the ride that follows, and that's kind of where we're at with it.
According to a criminal complaint, Morrow, who was a librarian at the Jackson County Public Library, did admit to posting the statement and intending to threaten Trump, but said she wasn't planning to personally carry out anything.
Here I am. Don't worry. I know it's been a couple of weeks. Welcome to the Comparison Guy podcast. Try to let the dust settle just a bit. Today is January 29th, year of our Lord 2026, and here we are. Yet again. Doesn't make for fun podcasting, I'll tell you that. I wanted podcasting to be fun and interesting, entertaining, not angry. But you realize we have no one left in this country to serve on a jury. You do realize that, don't you? And I'm not looking to serve on a jury. I'd come up with some kind of excuse. But I'd like to think if I was called to be on a jury, I could be objective. I'd like to think that. We can't lose that. That can't become a weakness or a sin or too centrist to be objective. Be objective. B-E objective. OBJ, ECT, IVE, be objective, BE objective. We got to be objective. We have to remain objective in this country. We have to. I know right from wrong. I know that. For instance, when did we make the shift in society that it's okay for a man to shove a woman to the ground on purpose with force? When did that start? I don't care if you're law enforcement or not. A big, strong, hulking man shoving a woman to the ground? Unless she's wearing a suicide vest and you're planning to throw yourself on top of her to smother the explosion, what is the reasoning behind that? I know, of course, the killing of Alex Pretti, that got the concentrated attention as it should, but what precipitated it was that ICE agent shoving that woman to the ground. Perhaps if he didn't feel the need to be so violent with her, who knows? Maybe the man would be alive. Who knows? And so, yes, I know right from wrong. I believe my eyes when I see things. But at the same time, I can be objective. And I can still be conflicted on some things. And I'll get into that. Hey, listen, why not? Why not? Why not have at least one podcast that's trying to be objective and be conflicted and be honest with you? I'll give you, for instance, just to set up the theme of this episode. I'll give you, for instance, on where I can be conflicted, even though I know right from wrong. I can tell you I'm 1,000% supportive of undocumented immigrants who come here, work hard, don't break the law, contribute to the economy, because if I was in their shoes, I'd do the same thing, try to make a better life. I can tell you that and still be conflicted about immigration, because I can tell you on a whole separate issue, I'm also 1,000% supportive of LGBTQ. But you're never going to catch me putting on chapstick. Until the day I die, I promise you, you will not look over at me sitting at a traffic light putting on chapstick. Sometimes my wife gives me a kiss and says, ooh, you need chapstick. I won't even put it on in the house. I won't put lotion on my hands in public. Sitting in a restaurant, sometimes my wife will say, oh, give me your hands. And she'll take out lotion and she'll put it on my hands, which is fine. I got no problem with that, but I won't put lotion on my hands in public. But I will put hand sanitizer on my hands in public. I'll sit right there, let her squirt hand sanitizer into my hands and rub it on in. People, I kid you not, we were sitting in a restaurant across from us, directly in front of me, in my line of sight, were 4 guys in a booth. One had what looked like some kind of mixed drink, and 3 of the guys had big, huge glasses of wine. I said to my wife, look. Look. She said, what? I said, what kind of man drinks a goblet of wine? First of all, you drink wine if there's nothing else to drink, and you drink it straight out of the bottle. Now, why do I feel these things? Because there's something seriously wrong with me. I can be objective enough to recognize that. I have no idea what putting chapstick on has to do with being gay. I don't know. And as I say, I completely support the LGBTQ community, and I don't know why I have to say that if I'm talking about drinking wine or putting on chapstick, but I feel as though I do because I'm conflicted and I'm crazy. I'm conflicted and I'm crazy. Why can't we just admit that to ourselves? Why do we think everyone else who disagrees with us or is not conflicted, who knows everything the second it happens, knows every doggone nuance of every single story that breaks across their news feed, they form their opinion, and their opinion is their opinion, and you can't shift their or change their opinion in any way, shape, or form? Am I the only guy left that doesn't think that thinks I need information? Am I the only person who thinks that I need information from different sources, not the same source? Is that where we are in this country, where nobody wants to be objective enough to recognize that they're conflicted and crazy when it comes to certain things? People are so sure of themselves, so sure of their every thought, their every feeling, their every opinion. They could never sit on a jury. Never. This woman is suing a big insurance company for not paying a claim. Can you be objective? Nope. This man stands accused of defrauding the welfare program of thousands. Can you be objective? Nope. Someone is suing a former employer for racial discrimination. Can you be objective? Nope. A 20-year-old woman is suing her 80-year-old ex-husband for $30,000 a month in alimony. Can you be objective? Nope. They were married 2 weeks. Nope. Objectivity cannot become a weakness or something we only demand from other people, but not ourselves. It can't. And it is. Objectivity has become something we only demand from other people and not ourselves. You can see it all over social media. You can see it everywhere. Anywhere where people make comments or yell back and forth at one another into the void, you see it. We used to say Twitter was just a black hole of hate that you descend down into. Now, everything is Twitter. Everything. I don't care where you go. I don't care if you go into the comment section on a podcast, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, whatever else is out there. Whatever else is out there where people go and they blue sky and they discuss politics. It is a black hole of hatred and no objectivity whatsoever. And that just can't be. Because all it's going to lead to is winning certain battles, in certain cases, under certain circumstances, but losing the war. Losing the war, which is losing this country. When what we see is going on, we have to stop saying, well, it's Twitter. Twitter, that place, oh boy, oh, Facebook. Oh, so much misinformation. The problem is Facebook. Oh, it's TikTok. The problem is TikTok. Just goofy people on TikTok. Oh, the problem is MAGA. The problem is Trump. The problem is the algorithm. When it's everywhere, that means the problem is everyone. When you see the same thing everywhere from the same people, that means the problem is the people. Not the algorithm, not Trump, not MAGA, not AOC, not the Democrats, not the Republicans. It's everyone. Even on a situation where facts are as clear can be. As clear can be, but both sides are angry. Both sides. Hey, listen, call me a slow learner, call me naive, but I like to wait to have evidence before I call something a fact. Otherwise, I'll tell you, this is my opinion. But the facts are clear. The facts are clear. I think clear enough right now. The Trump administration, Homeland Security, ICE, they had no intention of just deporting violent offenders. No intention of just deporting the worst of the worst. I saw Tom Homan speak today, and he could talk all he wants about targeted enforcement and prioritizing threats to the country. Nobody believes it. Nobody trusts it. When he was asked the question, well, Mr. Homan, are you saying that you're going to target and prioritize only the criminals and leave the non-criminals alone? He was a little cagey in his answer. No, we're going to prioritize, but nobody's off the table. In other words, oh no, they're still going to go after non-criminals. They're still going to do that. Very clear. That was their intention from the beginning. I wasn't sure. I'm a little shocked that they would be so silly and so stupid to turn what was a popular, positive polling issue for them, the immigration issue, if they just stuck with going after criminals. Why they would be so stupid to turn that into such a negative polling issue for them, I don't know. I don't know. It is surprising because, listen, how bad do you think you got to be at your job to get fired from the Trump administration? How bad do you have to be at your job, and how nuts do you have to be to make Tom Homan and Trump look like they're being the reasonable ones? Do you realize how bad this guy Bovino and Kristi Noem were over these past couple of weeks? He's getting the boot. I think she very well may get the boot. We'll see. We'll see how quickly things blow over and move on. Maybe the news will move on to a partial shutdown. And so Kristi Noem will be out of the spotlight, and that'll save her. But I think she very well could be going too. She's been so bad during this period of time. Do you know how bad you got to be to look bad in the Trump administration? I mean, come on. So yeah, it's shocking that they could be so stupid. I should play clips of Tom Homan from what he said this morning. And maybe I will. Because, as I say, I can be objective and conflicted. As I say, that Bovino and Kristi Noem was stupid, and these ICE agents, I mean, holy smokes. They know they're being filmed. They act like they think they're stuntmen in some movie, like they're getting filmed in some movie with some of the stuff that they were caught on camera doing. But at the same time, based on what Tom Homan was saying, when politicians in blue states don't work more closely with ICE and turn over certain people who were in custody, it creates a situation where ICE then has to go out looking for those people. I don't know if I should get off on this tangent right now to explain this. Let me try and explain it because it's really important. It's really important. And I'm going to save time by not playing the clip of Tom Homan. I just decided because he talks funny. I don't know if you'd understand it anyway. But basically, here's the discrepancy. Because you'll get certain people, you'll get Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, saying, I don't know what Tom Homan's talking about. We cooperate fully with ICE. Well, yes and no. Here's what happens. Someone who's in the country illegally gets arrested for drunk driving or gets arrested for domestic violence. They get put into county jail. There they sit in county jail until they can either be released on their own recognizance, or they can post bail, or they may even see a judge and the charges be thrown out. Whatever. whatever it is, they may be released. ICE is saying, do not release those people. We want them. Hold those people until we get there and turn them over to us. What Tim Walz is talking about is Minnesota state prisons. They do cooperate with ICE and turn people over. But the more local, county type jails, they do not turn people over to ICE. Why? Because they believe the person hasn't been acquitted, hasn't been convicted of anything. We're not going to turn someone over that you're calling a criminal when their only crime, quote unquote crime, is being in the country, which people will argue whether that's a criminal offense or a civil offense. So they're saying, blue states particularly are saying, we will not turn those particular people over. Tom Homan says, when you don't turn those particular people over, then we now have to go out into the community and look for those people. Because of the protest that they're encountering out in the community, it requires more agents. It requires ICE, it requires Border Patrol, it requires the team that's going and looking for the individual, but it also requires a security team and backup people. And so when you put more ICE agents out there, more Border Patrol agents out there with people who are fired up because of the rhetoric, blah, 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 this is what happens. He's saying it would be so much easier if you would just hand those people over into prison. We could send one ICE agent down to the prison, throw handcuffs on them, put them in the back of a car, and get them out. Now, I've explained the discrepancy. What's the law? The law is people are entitled to due process. Whether they're in the country illegally or not, people are entitled to due process, whether you agree with that or not. Donald Trump does not agree with that. And Donald Trump we're in a situation because Donald Trump thinks if a law is stupid, you shouldn't follow it. Listen, that's clearly what he believes. He believes if a law is stupid, I don't care if it's in the Constitution, we should not follow it. And so he feels it's stupid that we should spend taxpayer money to hold somebody in jail, spend taxpayer money to provide a public defender to get this person off of charges of domestic violence. We got to pay for that. And then release this person back out into the community. And we don't know if they've got more violent charges back in their country of origin. No, just turn them over and we'll get them out of the country. The Supreme Court has ruled on this. Donald Trump's Supreme Court has ruled on this. People who are in the country illegally are entitled to due process. You cannot just deport them without due process. At the same time, state law does not supersede federal law when it comes to enforcing immigration. So states, blue states, cannot make up their own set of rules on how they want to deal with immigration and block ICE or block enforcement from Homeland Security when it comes to immigration. So, does that mean they have to turn people over? Probably in most instances. It just means that once they turn the people over, Homeland Security, whoever, they can't just immediately put the people on the plane and get them out of the country and just send them wherever they want to send them. They also can't indefinitely shove them in some detention center somewhere or send them to Guantanamo Bay indefinitely without any type of due process or representation. Look, what do you want me to tell you? That's the law. That's the doggone law. That's the explanation of what's going on. That's the impasse of where we are. Because it is true, way more people have been deported from red states than blue states in 2025. Way more. Because the red states are like, yeah, take them, we don't care. So the red states work with ICE. They don't have any of these type of protests in the streets, and they're deporting way more people. As I said, legally or illegally. Go sue. Go sue. That's the recourse people have. They can sue, which there are a bunch of lawsuits against ICE for people being illegally detained or illegally deported. That's all they can really do. It has to be argued out in court. What's the use? Nobody wants to hear facts or evidence or information. Let me give you some numbers about what I'm talking about in terms of whether or not ICE or the Trump administration has any intention of really going after only the worst of the worst, only criminals. They started out pretty good. This is from factcheck.org. I'm reading. Our analysis of ICE arrests obtained by the Deportation Data Project found a doubling over time of the percentage without criminal records, meaning neither convictions nor charges. That's important. They started going after people who not only didn't have convictions, but they weren't even charged with anything. That's an important distinction because they would tell you, no, we want the people who've been charged. Don't let them go because they haven't been convicted yet. If they've been charged with something, we want to know who that person is. Because if someone's charged with domestic violence and you let them go because the girlfriend or the wife or whoever decides, never mind, I'm not going to press charges. Well, you don't know if because of that, you're now putting a violent felon back out on the street, somebody who was violent and convicted of charges back in their own country. All right, so it's important to understand that. It's probably one of the most important parts of this argument, and nobody's even talking about it. Back to factcheck.org. In Trump's first 3 months in office, 21.9%, 22%, let's call it, of those arrested had no criminal record. It's okay, not too bad. Almost 80% of the people they were arresting had a criminal record. The percentage rose to 34.2, no criminal record, in Trump's second 3 months, and then to 40.5 in the 3 months ending in mid-October. So now they're up to, they're down to only 60% of the people that they're arresting and detaining having a criminal record, down from 80%. In January, nearly 43% of those detained had no convictions or charges, according to publicly available ICE data. Trump administration officials claim most of those without charges in the U.S. have convictions or pending charges in their home country. But the Department of Homeland Security has provided no data to back that up, okay? So, once again, you may hear in certain media, these people have no criminal record, they have no criminal record. Trump administration is claiming, not in the U.S., but some of these people that you're releasing back in the community have a criminal record back in their country of origin. But they're not providing that information. They'll tell you, we're not providing that information because they're not handing over to people so that we can properly process them, okay? Moving on. We asked the question, did ICE start running out of people, good people, the people who, they really wanted to find? Did they start running out of those people? Or did those people become harder to find, and so they just started rounding up whoever they found? I think it's a little bit of both. Based on data from 2025, reading now, it is true that a majority of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement arrests and subsequent deportations are occurring in Republican-led states. This is largely due to increased cooperation between local law enforcement and federal immigration authorities in these states, particularly in Texas, Florida, and Georgia. A 2025 analysis found that 59% of ICE arrests in red states took place in prisons and jails. Texas, in particular, has emerged as the epicenter of immigration removals, with 24% of all nationwide arrests occurring there. While red states focus on in-custody transfers, meaning jails and prisons, blue states, such as New York and California, see more at-large arrests in the community, partly because local agencies in these states often do not cooperate with ICE. Texas, Florida, and Georgia, this is important, Texas, Florida, and Georgia are consistently cited as leading in immigration detention and arrest numbers, partly due to 287G agreements that deputize local law enforcement to assist with immigration enforcement. So once again, that's an important thing. Texas, Florida, Georgia, they'll say, we actually will assist you, ICE, we will assist you in immigration enforcement. Tim Walz has said, and I believe Mayor Jacob Fry has said, we absolutely will not allow local law enforcement to assist ICE in arresting individuals, illegal immigrants. They will not assist in the arrest. Tom Homan talked about today. He said, well, hey, listen, will you at least pick up the phone and send officers when there's a security risk? And he says he got agreement on that. Because, I mean, listen, once again, being objective, that was a little crazy. When you got people out there, you got protesters, you got basically what appears to be a riot get ready to break out, and Minneapolis law enforcement is basically told to stand down. That's not good. That's not the way to handle that. That makes everyone less safe, including the people in the community that you're worried about. I'm going to read this last part of this because it's really interesting. Between 2019 and 2023, 95% of non-citizen population growth occurred in red states. Between 2019 and 2023, 95% of non-citizen population growth occurred in red states. Well, how the heck did that? Why? Well, key reasons for increase in red states: economic opportunity and labor demand. A high number of private job openings, which surged to near record levels in 2022, acted as a primary magnet for migrants. Geographic proximity. Border states like Texas and Arizona often experience the initial and sometimes lasting impact of increased border crossings due to their location. Third reason, lower cost of living. It's cheaper to live in Florida than in New York. Simple as that. Number 4, policy environment. While sometimes considered a pull factor, some migrants may be attracted to areas at times with more informal labor markets. I like the wording they use there. Some migrants may be attracted to areas with at times more informal labor markets to be found in red states. So ain't that interesting? The get them out of here states are also the states more likely to look the other way on legal status when there's a demand for labor. But when the demand for labor goes, they say, okay, now time for the illegal immigrants to go. I thought that was very interesting. But here we are. We're recalibrating. We're reducing. We're de-escalating. We're calling for partial shutdowns over DHS funding, calling for impeachments of Nome, calling for impeachments of Trump. And the band played on. As the ship is sinking, the band plays on. Someone posted online, they will not vote for any Democrat that is not for abolishing ICE. If you saw unfortunate situation with Ilhan Omar where the guy rushed her and sprayed something at her. Have they figured out what the heck that was he sprayed at her? She was in the middle of talking about how there will be no reform of ICE. There can be no reform of ICE. ICE has to go. ICE has to be abolished. And so someone online was echoing that. They said, I'm not going to vote for any Democrat who talks about reforming ICE. ICE has to go. Well, okay. All right. How about I say this? I will not vote for any Democrat that does not have a comprehensive A to Z doable solution to our immigration problem. A plan for the dreamers, a plan for deporting criminals, a plan for securing the border, a plan for going after companies who illegal hire and mistreat immigrants, a plan for what benefits such as healthcare, childcare, education an undocumented immigrant can get and who's going to pay for it and how we pay for it, a plan that will not bring 2 million asylum seekers a year to our southern border, not because I don't want them here or because I'm racist or because I'm MAGA, because I live in a land of reality, and reality, we can't process that volume of people. We simply can't process that volume of people. There aren't enough asylum judges in the world to process that many people in a timely humanitarian fashion, say a couple of weeks. And so you let them sit at the border and starve, or you turn them around and say, okay, walk back to Venezuela, or you transport them back to their home country at taxpayer expense, or you let them in while they wait, which means you let people in some cases that probably should not have gotten in. That's where we end up. And you're going to start hearing this clip if you haven't yet. Guess who said that? Guess who tried to explain that?
We all know one clear national standard is needed. Our task then is to make our national laws actually work, to shape a system that reflects our values as a nation of laws and a nation of immigrants. And that means being honest about the problem, and getting past the false debates that divide the country rather than bring it together. For example, there are those in the immigrants' rights community who have argued passionately that we should simply provide those who are illegally with legal status, or at least ignore the laws on the books and put an end to deportation until we have better laws. And often this argument is framed in moral terms. Why should we punish people who are just trying to earn a living? I recognize the sense of compassion that drives this argument. But I believe such an indiscriminate approach would be both unwise and unfair. It would suggest to those thinking about coming here illegally that there will be no repercussions for such a decision. And this could lead to a surge in more illegal immigration. And it would also ignore the millions of people around the world who are waiting in line to come here legally. Ultimately, our nation, like all nations, has the right and obligation to control its borders and set laws for residency and citizenship. And no matter how decent they are, no matter their reasons, the 11 million who broke these laws should be held accountable.
2010. Barack Obama, 2010. That's where the Democratic Party was, for the most part. Then you got Trump, which, he went off the rails 2016 onto 2020. And then Biden came in and for some crazy unknown reason felt the need to go not more back in line with what he was doing when he was Obama's vice president. He decided to go completely almost to an open border type policy, which led to an immigration crisis. You couldn't call it anything more than a crisis. And I think when Tom Homan was his most effective today when he spoke, people aren't going to like, again, here I am, be objective, be objective. When Tom Homan spoke, he spoke, look, the border's secure now. So you know what you have less of? Rape, murder, sex trafficking, a humanitarian crisis where you got 10,000 people a day showing up at the border and you don't know what to do with them because you're overwhelmed. You don't have the personnel. You don't have the people to handle it. So you have a humanitarian crisis. When the border's secure, you don't have that. And he called out the Democrats who are justifiably screaming about the actions of ICE, but not justifiably offering any plans to fix what's broken. To fix what's broken. They can scream all they want about ICE and win that battle. How do we win the war is what I want to know. I don't have any interest in the whatabouts and can you believe and you can talk to me about Kyle Rittenhouse all you want. You can talk to me about, I can't believe they said the Second Amendment thing. Yeah, that's what they do. Politicians are hypocrites. Where you been? That's what they do. I have no interest in that because it doesn't fix anything. Doesn't bring anybody back to life. When Democrats move so far to the extreme away from where Barack Obama was, you know what you end up with? This is what you end up with.
Get him the hell out. Get him the hell out of here. Get him out. Get him out. Get him out. Get him out of here. Get him out. Oh, get him out. Get him out. Get out of here. Get her out. Out. Get out. Out. Are they out? Are they out, security? Are they gone? Are they gone? Mexico. Oh, we have another one. We have a protest. Get him out. Get out of here. Get him out. Come on, move faster. Throw him the hell out. Throw him the hell out of here. Take him out. Get him out. Get out of here.
That's what we'll end up with. If the Democrats consistently move too far left on everything, that's what we'll end up with. Not by Trump necessarily. We'll assume he'll be gone, but by the next loudmouth that is able to tap into people's anger and misdirected hate. When are we going to learn? When? I swear, if an advanced alien race visited this planet, they would think human civilization has been around for a couple of 100 years. We would say, oh, no, thousands of years. They would say, oh, okay. And then you just got the one gender? Oh, no, a couple. Oh, okay. Well, studying your history, it says for all mankind and all men created, we just assume. Well, anyway, at least you're not still allowing people to hold on to power by pitting one race against another, right? Well, seriously, when are we going to learn? Raise your hand if you feel you're getting all you deserve out of life. Raise your hand. Well, I'll be. Nobody. Everyone thinks they deserve more. And when they're not getting it, when they're struggling, they need someone or something to blame. We are all the same in that respect. I don't care who it is, Democrats, Republicans, left, right, center. If people are struggling, they do not look at themselves first for the blame. They need someone to blame. And people who hold power are quick to give them someone to blame or something to blame. Oh, it's the Jews. It's the immigrants. It's the blacks. It's the whites. It's the gays. It's capitalism. It's DEI. It's Democrats. It's Republicans. It's moderates. Oh, there's something for everyone in that cornucopia of hate and blame. Something for everyone. This is not about immigration or security or even racism, really. Because if a whole mess of blonde-haired, blue-eyed Swedish people were sneaking into the country supporting Democrats, you'd hear Trump, get them out, get them out. Oh, and to be fair, on that clip I just played of Trump, that was more him talking about protesters at his rallies than immigrants. I don't want anybody accusing me of trying to be fake, but we've heard him say that about immigrants plenty of times too. But the clips, most of those were him yelling at protesters, just to be clear and honest. But this is about power and money. This is about people holding on to power to make the money, pitting one race of people against another race, pitting a group against another group, pitting an issue against an issue, whatever it is, giving people something to blame their struggles on. And in some cases, people might say, well, yeah, capitalism. Yeah, it's not capitalism. It's what's being done to capitalism. So justifiable blame to be placed there for the struggles of some people. You just got to be exact about what you're talking about. As I say, you talk about corporate greed. Corporations can't be greedy unless people got money to spend. Where are the people getting the money from? If they're getting it from their jobs, that's good. If they're getting it from the government, that ain't good. So you got to be exact in what you're talking about. DEI, yeah, sure. Sometimes maybe it swings too far in a direction it shouldn't go in. Maybe it's overambitious in trying to diversify a particular industry. But at the same time, if someone gets a job because of DEI, they have to do the job. They have to have the skill and the knowledge and the ability to do the job, or they'll get fired. Trust me, they will. Unless, of course, you're in Congress. But other than that, you can't be a DEI hire and not know how to land a plane. I mean, come on. I think I'm going to wrap up. I had a lot more I was going to talk about, but I'll leave you with that point because it's the most important point. People with money have stayed in power and stayed rich by giving poor people or the non-rich someone or something to blame their struggle on. When are we going to learn? It is the oldest trick in the book. The oldest trick in the book. If I was advising the Trump administration and Donald Trump really wanted to go down in history as being the president that fixed the immigration issue in this country, I would tell him, look, you have law on your side if you would just be lawful for once. You can easily make the case, believable or not, you can make the case, look, we welcome immigrants who come here legally, wherever they come from. We welcome immigrants from Mexico, from Venezuela, from Honduras, from Guatemala, Haiti, Nicaragua, wherever, as long as they come here legally. You can make that case. Now, it would be incumbent upon the Democrats to sit down with the Trump administration and say, okay, how do we achieve that? How do we come up with a program, with a system where we can achieve that, where we can get people that we need in the country where we need them, in industries that we need them, where they are contributing members of society without incentivizing and overwhelming our border at the same time. How do we do that? Let's put our heads together. That's the only way you solve this. I mean, I don't know when somebody's going to start asking the question, what do we do about the businesses that are hiring illegal immigrants? I mean, it's not like we don't know where they are. That's the other point that I have to make, that I wish people would start to understand. Some of these talking points, they got to go. If we're going to fix this problem, some of these talking points got to go. Immigrants are not only doing the jobs Americans don't want to do. That is not true. That is a talking point that is probably 40 years too old or 30 years too old. Maybe that was the case back then, but it's not the case now. We have the numbers. We know what industries they work in. They work in food processing. They work in construction. Those are not jobs that Americans don't want to do. I mean, construction is a broad field. It could be roofing. It could be HVAC. It could be hanging drywall. It could be pouring concrete. I mean, those are pretty good, well-paying jobs, particularly if you can get into a union. So those are not jobs that Americans don't want to do. But what happens is, if I have a roofing company and my competition in my community is using illegal labor that they are taking advantage of by paying them $10 an hour, and I can't get any legal American citizens to work for less than $40 an hour, how do I compete? How do I compete? The person doing the thing wrong is always going to win the bid, because guess what? The consumer doesn't care. The consumer wants the lowest bid. So to say that immigrants are only doing the jobs Americans don't want to do is no longer true. We have to stop looking at it that way. Saying immigrants built the country. The country's built. Fine. Great. Immigrants helped build the country 250 years ago. Fantastic. The country's built. We could use some touch-ups. We can use a new coat of paint and some new storm doors. And we certainly can use people coming from other countries to help us in that. But the country's built. Stop saying that. No, immigrants built the country. We're all immigrants. This land belonged to the Native Americans. Give it back then. If that's the way you feel, give it you first. We're all immigrants. We should all go back to where we come from. You first. You go back to Germany. You go back to England. You go back to Europe or wherever you, Spain, Italy, wherever you go back first. Give the country back to the Native Americans if that's the way you feel. Oh, we're all immigrants. We're never going to solve this problem. And as I said, for half of 2025, I said, Democrats, you're not going to win on this immigration issue. You're just not. You can win the battle, but you're not going to win the war. Because no matter what you do, no matter how compassionate you try to be, as Obama tried to explain, all you're going to do is incentivize people to come here that we can't handle, that we can't process. We don't have to have the harshness and the lack of compassion and the violence of the Trump administration either, but we've got to have people who just don't want to throw talking point after talking point and hypocrisy after hypocrisy and whataboutism after whataboutism. We need people who actually care the way they say they care to actually solve the problem. If you believe this problem is not solvable with this administration, then give up. Throw your hands up, pack your bags, get on a plane, and head on over to one of those Scandinavian countries I've been hearing so much about. That's the episode. I certainly do appreciate you listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Please follow on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And please share to all your toxic social media.
We had a plan, move out of this town, baby, west to the sand. It's all we talked about lately. I packed a car, bring your guitar, and Jane for smoking. First thing it's on.
Share. Copy and paste. Copy and paste the link from the show to your social media. It does work, I should tell you. It does work when people share. I can tell the more people share, the more listens the show gets.
Never packed. Did your boots stop working? Did your truck break down? Did you burn through money? Did your ex find out? Where there's a will and there's a way, and I've been.
So if you're sharing, please keep doing it. Don't give up. I won't give up. You don't give up. I'll see you next time.
Did the nurse come get you? What's your alibi? I'm in my way back to LA, and that's where you'll be forgotten. In 40 years, you'll still be here. Don't wash up in Austin.